Ok, 305 Fights, where the champions rise, 305, donde surgen los campeones. We're doing our podcast. We have a super duper podcast. Really excited via Skype because I really wanted to do this with the mighty Ryan Quinn. How are you, Mr. Quinn?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for taking the time. We really wanted to talk to you. You've done a lot. You got a lot of things going on. And 305 Fights, we try to provide a platform to promote all the martial arts in general, all the martial arts gyms, instructors, coaches in South Florida, just to really enjoy the benefits and the features of martial arts. Let's start with yourself, the mighty Ryan Quinn. Can you give us a little bio about yourself?
Okay, my name is Ryan Quinn. I am the head amateur coach at American Top Team in Coconut Creek, Florida, Broward County, Fort Lauderdale area. I fought professionally, for mostly known for Bellator. Had 9 fights with Bellator. I was a wrestler in high school and college, and I was a world champion in jiu-jitsu, a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And now at this point in my career, I just focused on coaching, and I just love coaching those amateurs now.
Thank you so much. And I want a little bio because it's really great that you have experience competing. You've been in there, and I think that's a great point of reference to coach for and give your experience. You were a professional MMA. Your record was 14-7-1, if I'm correct.
Yes, 15-7. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's okay. That was what Sherdog had. And I'm glad you informed me that you have a wrestling background. I did a little wrestling in high school. Went to Dan Gable's wrestling camp. The black belt in jiu-jitsu. I noticed that a lot of the fights you won by rear naked choke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. How do you set up the rear naked choke?
How do I set it up? Well, I'm very good with, because I don't get over anxious when I'm trying to take the back and I jump on. I'm very aware that I'm a short person, and I can't just throw my legs in like a taller person or even an average sized person. So what I like to do is I like to do like the spiral ride. Those of you who know wrestling, I want to get them flat. I want to get them flat, and then I get my legs in, and once I feel them building up, bam, that's when I set it up. That's when I throw the rear naked in.
Yeah, now you're seeing with the people, with the fighters like Khabib and whatnot, how the wrestling is combining with the other grappling arts. Yes. And he does a little bit of the spiral, but he takes the side, brings you down on the side in a position, and that's good. You see, that's what we were looking for. Not only communicate, inform everybody. We have young fighters coming in and whatnot. What I see, I agree with you. What I see is they get overexcited, overcommitted, and they're up too high on top. And then you end up on the bottom, which in MMA is not a good spot.
Yeah. Especially in the amateur fights. If you end up on bottom, you're going to be there for the whole 3 minutes in the amateur fights. Like a lot of those amateurs too, they don't even know to stand up. So but yeah, like my wrestling coach in high school used to say, don't do all that hard work for his positioning. Don't get crazy when you're on top and then lose it. And then, take your time, be finesse, make them carry your weight, and then go for the maneuver.
Awesome suggestions. I wanted to talk also a little bit about you. You have a lot of experience, like I said, and I looked up. We had some pictures that we wanted to put up. You were in Bellator. Bellator, I've seen, is coming up and doing a lot of great things. How do you see Bellator in the state of martial arts now?
Well, I think that Bellator, obviously everything going on put everything on hold, but Bellator is doing a really good job with these Grand Prix tournaments, and they're bringing up names with that. I think they're doing really well with that. PFL made a pretty solid run during their season this year. That's going to pose some threats for Bellator. I think overall Bellator's foundation is there, but what's kind of hurting them is not everybody has the television station that they get put on, like DAZN, DASN, and right. I know, like, when they're on Paramount, everyone sees them, but when you got to pick and choose, when you have 3 major promotions in the United States, especially, and the 2 of them are in your face all the time, one of which is on ESPN nonstop now, it really hurts you when the average fan, they're not going to go out of their way to go look for that. That's just the way it is. I've been guilty of it myself. you know, and, yeah, and you know, or you need to. I had to set up an account, you know, the subscription, you know, because I want to watch DAZN 3 times a year. Nobody wants to do that. So I think that's the one thing. But from what I understand, they're working that problem out. They're actually they're trying to move their platform, and I think once they do that, they got some up and coming stars that you know, personally from our gym at American Top Team, they're signing and they're building young talent. And I think that in the next few months they're going to be boom, they're going to be major players.
Yes, correct. You know, last night I was watching. They're making a lot of moves. They're getting a lot of UFC fighters, and I like their format. Is the one
Yes.
over in
Yeah.
Asia.
Yeah.
What,
Oh yeah.
what do you think about the state of the one over there?
I think that they too. I mean, I think that they're pretty fast growing. You know, we in the United States, you know, we know of the UFC and Bellator and PFL, but they're all over the world right now, especially all over Asia. Like you said, Asia. You didn't say China. You didn't say Japan. They're all over Asia. Like they're soaking up that market, and they're getting these fighters. They're building them over there, and then they're building some of the former UFC fighters. And as a fighter, they're paying well. So that opens.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. And you know what? Their rules are different. You know,
Oh yeah.
they're like I see like a Pride K1 type of rule.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, unfortunately, that's never going to translate over here. That stuff's never going to be allowed. I wonder how they're going to play that out. That's not going to stop them from coming over here. But it's a brutal fight. It's a spike to the head, the dropping on the head, and you know, I would rather take a knee to the face than getting stomped in the face. You know, so
Yeah. Yeah, and and they have different. I was watching their protocol for the fighters and whatnot. They test your hydration.
Yes.
And if you make weight but you're dehydrated, they won't allow you to fight.
Yeah, they don't let you in a sauna or anything over there. I think that's great. Personally, you know, I love that they're protecting the fighters. I think that fighters should be protected. A lot of these fighters, especially young fighters, have no idea what they're doing when they're cutting weight. I was like that too up until the middle of my career. But I feel they could allow the fighters a little bit more, but it's good that they're being safe and learning through the process how to be safe, as opposed to being dangerous and learning through the process how to be safe. So I'm all for what they're doing.
Correct. Okay, let's talk a little bit about American Top Team Coconut Creek, the academy over there. Can you tell us a little bit about the academy over there?
Man, we got a lot going on. Especially even now with the shutdown and everything, like we have Amanda Nunes fighting this weekend as far as the professional. You know, George from Miami probably going to be fighting for the belt in July. They got a lot of big names still over there. As far as the amateurs are concerned, I love working with those guys. We got a lot of up and comers, some guys that are going to be making the jump within the next few months. The professional, we're fighting all the time. I know Jordan Spieler was going to come down with you guys, and then everything happened. He still wants to come down, but we can talk about that some other time. We're just trying to keep busy. We're just trying to stay busy. That's all. About a little over a year ago, I said to my fighters, I want to be a little more aggressive with taking on competition, and we stumbled a little at first, but then we started exploding on the scene, and we started doing really well. And I love what the kids are doing. You know. Daniel Wyatt was my lightweight. He just made a jump to pro. He's going to have a great career. Fernando Reyes he's an exceptional talent. He's about to make that jump. And Dylan Edwards is another one you'll be seeing. He's 3-0 in mixed martial arts. He's probably got 1 or 2 more fights, needs to 5. And then he'll make the jump in the next few months. So a lot of good things. And I always remind my fighters, as much as I want to collect belts as a coach and everything like that and just dominate the scene, it's more important for me to build these fighters and develop them to have a strong professional career and to make that money than to just be outstanding amateur fighters. You know, that's my main purpose. That's my main.
One of the reasons I wanted to have you is not just because I'm talking to you right now, but from my experience, I think you're doing a really great professional job over there, meaning focusing on good technique, good skills, but you know what? Also a good attitude, conducting themselves in a professional manner. You know, it's important to make yourself, you know, sponsors want to sponsor a product that they're proud of. And in the martial arts, you want to promote the philosophy of the martial arts. You know, in 305 Fights, we say respect and honor. So I see that's what I call professional. So I see, you've done a good professional job. It shows in the guys. And thanks a lot. I think that helps the martial arts arena in general.
Well,
Let me ask you about the programs over there. What are the programs you have over there at Coconut Creek American Top Team?
well, first of all, I want to say thank you for that. As a coach, there's no greater compliment than to hear that your fighters are representing well. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, we have MMA, obviously. We have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and grappling. We have boxing and kickboxing. Coach Bruno does the kickboxing. Him and Coach Barbosa are my right-hand men. I don't call them my assistants. I call them my partners. We make this program together. They're the grappling and kickboxing and striking experts. We have boxing. Coach Mako runs a wrestling program there for the youth. It's just that's exploding. We're having some national champions come out of that now. So we're real busy on many levels over there. Obviously, I concentrate on the amateur, the fighters, and that are the prospects, as we call them. And yeah, we're just busy. And of course, you know us for being MMA with the UFC and Bellator and One and all those guys. So
awesome. I wanted to get into the programs over there because I wanted to talk to you about skill sets. First and foremost, physically getting ready to compete. What are your suggestions on that? What is your take on the physical aspect of getting ready for a competition level?
Okay, well, all right. Look, I mean, I'm sure you've seen this. You get kids that walk in and they're going to tell you, they walk in on Monday, they tell you Wednesday they want to fight on Friday. So it don't work that way. I know it's a little different now, but when I was brought into MMA, my coach said, even though I had an extensive wrestling background, he said, I want you to at least be a blue belt in jiu-jitsu before we get you a fight. I was like, yeah, it's fine. That's the protocol. But now, it's like fighting is just, the competition is a little bit more easy. Not easier, I'm sorry. It's a little more accessible to get an MMA fight. So a lot of these fighters, like they're getting fights at like 2-3 months experience, which I don't necessarily agree with. I want you training at least 6 months, unless you're a standout exception or you have some serious wrestling background or something like that. But you can also, you can get a fight with somebody else who is fighting at 2 or 3 months experience, But what I like to do is, sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent there. What I like to do is I want to make sure that they're coming to my sessions. I got 5 sessions a week. You got to come to all those when you're training for a fight, or if you're looking to train for a fight. If you're on the competition team, I call it, and you got to be hitting 2 grappling sessions and 2 striking sessions a week. You could fit 2 sessions in a day. At ATT we stagger them, 1 hour of boxing, 1 hour of MMA, and whatever like that. So you can hit 2 sessions a day, or there's morning sessions and afternoon sessions. Now, that being said, I understand a lot of amateur fighters, you're not getting paid to fight, so you got to work outside. Personally, I try to work with my fighters in that aspect. If I got to make up a session for them here or there, or I'll go over their schedule, because we have classes all day, just to work around your schedule. And that's the beauty of a big gym like that. So that takes a lot off my plate. But yeah, there's a lot to it. I just need to make sure that you're getting well-rounded in all aspects. Like, you can't just come to MMA training and say, I'm getting an MMA fight. You need to be grappling, you need to be striking. And I know I like to focus a lot on wrestling in the MMA practice, because all the other stuff you can do singly outside. But yeah, there's a lot to it. I just like, blah. But
No. I agree 100%. Me personally, my understanding at this point in time, there's, like you said, there's so many facets. You have to do your strength and conditioning. You have to do your striking, your grappling, and your MMA class. I believe that even in an amateur level, we have now a category which is a junior, okay, or sport MMA. And the reason we did that, because I believe that technically you should be progressing and you should be demonstrating technical skill and ability. Again, what is going to promote more the martial arts, the combat sports, the whole phase? If the fights become more technical, the fighters look better. If a fighter looks totally out of shape and he can't throw a punch, and if it looks disastrous, from a producer's point of view, whatever, is that going to make a good show? No. So bringing the skill level up is very important. And to bring the skill level, like you said, there's a lot of facets to it, and you have to dedicate time and energy to those facets. I agree. I think a lot of people want to jump in there. And look, anybody can. I started martial arts. I'm not gonna date myself, but but in the YMCA in Alapata area, if you want to fight, just go over there and you'll get into a fight, you know.
Yeah.
But do you want to, like, I'll give you an example, and I get like yourself. I don't want to get in a tangent. I think there's a lot of things that help combat sports, movies, a lot of different of the competitions, the grappling competitions, the boxing, now MMA, you know, even UFC wants to cross into boxing. I was talking last podcast to an instructor about the bare knuckle.
Yeah.
I know they're paying a lot of money. I know that's good. I think that any exposure is good exposure, but when it gets to be just these disastrous two guys, it looks like two guys in a backyard just fighting in a corner drunk.
Mhm.
I think, does that really promote the martial arts and the martial arts skill? You know,
Not
you got to question that.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. It's part of martial arts is you got to earn where you're at. So like that's a great point because that doesn't picture that. And as a coach's standpoint, that's my product I'm putting out there. I want him to look like $1,000,000. Like I have an ego too. So I, I look at it. And as far as like another reason for competition outside jiu-jitsu, boxing, wrestling, like I had over 300 wrestling matches before I stepped foot in an MMA cage, and I had over 100 grappling matches. And now these kids don't want to go through that these days. It's like, well, I really think that you need to get that adrenaline dump, and you need to see what that one-on-one competition's like at a Naga or jiu-jitsu tournament before you do this, because I've seen it. I've seen it with kids that even have done these tournaments where they go in there and that cage door closes and deer in the headlights, and it happens. And it either happens in one or two spots. It happens right before the fight starts, or right before the third round starts. And usually when they're a piece, I'm going to finish this thing. It's like it happens. And you can tell kids. Well, you can't tell kids anything, but like you can tell these kids, they're blue in the face. It's going to happen. They don't believe you until it hits them.
Yeah, my kickboxing coach, which is one of my martial arts brothers, Scott Ashley, who was the welterweight he was a champion. When, like everybody, you just want to get in there and fight, and he goes, okay, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get into you're going to get into the fight, and you're going to want to win or just survive.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I want to win. See, but what happens is when you get in there and you say, oh my God, what is this? You start getting tired, you start getting hit. Then you make a decision like, do I really want to continue this or just survive and hope this thing is over?
Yeah.
I realize, what I realize is true. If you're not prepared, you're not going to be prepared to win, to fight to win. You're just going to try to survive. And of course, that doesn't represent good. It doesn't look good. Talking about representing, I wanted to jump into now coaching and teaching martial arts in a martial arts school from a martial arts point of view. The benefits are respect, discipline. How better way to teach discipline than get used to putting that work ethic in? So I want to ask you, what do you see the benefits of martial arts in general for everybody? And how do you see those benefits being implemented in practice?
This is how I look at that. Like there's times where it's like, especially on Friday evenings, like you talk about that discipline. And I get like worked up because these kids are putting in, so they're not all kids. I call them kids, but like they're like, yeah, I'm getting at that age now, I guess. But
Yeah.
What do you call it? They're working hard. They're working their butts off. And I say to them, where sometimes like they're having they're frustrated because they're not having a good session. I go, hey man, it's Friday night. All your friends are out partying, and then you're in here putting in the rounds. That's already a win. Just come back tomorrow ready to make up for. So like that's what you say. Like they're learning discipline without even knowing it. 'Cause they're chasing something. They're not going out. They're sacrificing, putting in those hours, putting in those rounds. And unfortunately, some coaches don't let their fighters know that. I don't baby fighters. I'm actually very strict. But when they need to be reminded that they are putting in that right work, I certainly tell them that, because that's how you learn about the discipline. Like that's how it pays off and stuff like that.
And that hard work and that work ethic, that's how you learn the discipline. But that's how they get confidence too.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's why we did 305 Fights. I did it to promote martial arts in general, period. Because in my life, I saw how it impacted me. And what I realized, and I talk to parents and I talk to young people and everything, I tell them, listen, you can't take a confidence pill. You can't read you can't read a discipline book. You got to do it, and doing it, walking the path, is how you're gonna get the confidence, get the discipline. What is your thought on that?
Oh, well, I could take myself as an example. I started wrestling when I was 13 years old. I was a slob. My grades sucked. I didn't care. I thought wrestling was cool. I tried it out. Then my dad said he comes home. I'm doing my homework because I need to keep my grades up for wrestling. I started doing my own laundry because I needed these clothes clean for wrestling practice. I was going to sleep early because I was either tired or I needed to have my strength to go to the tournament tomorrow. Like I was staying in on Friday nights and Saturdays. And it's like wrestling just turned me into this young man. And I'm just using wrestling as an example, but all the martial arts do that. And that's
Correct.
exactly what I took from it. And like my dad says, he's like, wrestling did for you what I just wasn't clicking on with a father. So like that, I'm sure like there's just things like with martial arts that people just find what they want to better themselves for, and that they just stick to it. And it just makes sense. It just, everything circles around just bettering yourself. And that's what it comes down to.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about the combat sports. Let's talk about the art, the sport, the business. Let's get to the business. We'll get to the fights at the UFC that's coming up. I always tell people it's so important to, the business part is start promoting yourself, start commuting outlets. That's why we're doing this. That's why we love to do cross promotion. The business aspect, you being in the business. What is your advice and what's your suggestion? What do you think about that?
Okay, yeah, I was always someone who didn't believe in branding myself too much. My rounds, my fights are going to speak for themselves, and let's face it, you got to be able to sell. That's what it comes down to now. You got to be able to get yourself out there. I'm not saying everybody needs to be Conor McGregor, because honestly, all the duplicates are really getting pushed back. But you got to be willing to put yourself out there and promote your brand. Go fishing, hustling for sponsors, promote their brand. You got to be able to do that, because we don't get paid like other people, other sports. And I know what really helped me a lot was I was a high ticket seller in the New York, Connecticut, and Jersey area. So like that really helped me too. I mean, I don't. If you have a system for the ticket sales, use it and go for it. But like if you can promote yourself by getting sponsors and stuff, do that. Because as long as you're getting your eyes on you, because selling tickets, it's rough. But like I developed my own system, and I was able to sell like 100 tickets a pop. And I like, for you amateur fighters out there, think about it like this. I would try to get a business to sponsor me, and then I would cut the business 2 tickets, and I'd be like, buy 10 tickets off of me to bring your company, and that would work. Like you do things like that. So now you're making money from the sponsor, and you're just using that money to pay for 2 tickets for the boss and his wife. That's the other thing these kids don't really know about, is trading off and like when to pick and choose when to spend your money, which I get, because like I used to. But yeah, like just you guys got to think of stuff like that. You got to be able to promote yourself, promote the show, and on top of it, who the hell's going to want to work with you again if you're a pain in the butt for the promoter? This guy, he's hard to work with, doesn't sell any tickets. We don't want him back.
I'm so glad you touched upon all of these points, because they have to become a business. They have to start learning business, become business savvy. I had to learn and become a professional in business. We have a sports agent we work with, Matthew Dodge. Mm-hmm. And when he comes in and we tell these guys, hey, listen, we're doing pictures for you. We're doing videos for you. We're helping you sell yourself. You got to help you sell yourself. You have to become, like you said, be a professional, easy to work with. Sometimes I see people work for like big, even Bellator, UFC, or the one, or big companies, or any company, and they get in a fight with the boss. I don't know, in any job, you don't get in a fight with the boss. Yeah. You work with the boss. Yeah. So, and those are things that they have to learn. It's not just, it's not just getting in there and throwing punches and punching each other in the face.
Yeah. You hit it on the nail. And, on top of that, like I know as I'm older, when I started looking for, like a job possibly outside of MMA, you can use your experience as a fighter, as a ticket seller, as a draw, as a businessman, to write on your resume stuff you've done. And you can't, you really just, you got to take advantage of your experience. You can't just keep your head in the sand, and it helps. Like people, people want to hire competitive people. What's more competitive than a cage fighter?
Yeah.
You're competitive. You know how to sell. You know how to promote. You know how to market brands. Take the cage fighter. Take the cage fighter over the dude with the bachelor's degree. Like this is real life experience on so many.
Correct. Yes, sir. It's funny because I learned all through this. I learned all that through this arena, not business school, but through that arena. I wanted to go back to your experiences and the stuff. You've done a lot of stuff, and you worked with a lot of people. I saw a video which I really enjoyed. You were showing Jeff Mayweather how to do a rear naked choke.
Yeah.
How was working with him?
Jeff is he's a good friend of mine. He's a riot, that guy. Even his shirt, like, I'm not gonna repeat what it said on your show, but his shirt, but we had another video where when he holds pads, he calls it a doom session, because what he does is he slips in like face pounds to your, so like, and he's quick even for his age, quick, and he doofs, right in the face. So we did that video, and then he's like, man, show me some MMA, and then just like, all right, cool. It was after I finished some jiu-jitsu, and we're gonna do a video, and he had his phone out, and then it turned into that whole thing. Man, yeah. It was good.
Yeah, that was awesome. I really enjoyed that. The one of the Mayweathers just passed.
Yeah.
And those guys, and you talked about working the pads and whatnot. They have a skill set, and they put a system to transfer that skill set, which is really, really good. Rest in peace. There's a good example. Having a skill set and then developing a system to transmit that skill set.
Yeah.
I also saw a video of you with Greg Harding, his transition from MMA to football. And how was that?
That was great. Greg's a good guy. I'm really happy. I know that he got a bad rap for what happened to him like 10 years ago now. But when he came into the gym at ATT, like, that's why I wanted to do a video with him, because I was doing a YouTube channel which I would like to get back to anyway. But I was like, I want to do an interview with you because, you're a good guy. I think you're misunderstood. And whatever happened in your past, you're trying to put it behind you. And, people make mistakes. And he keeps calling me coach. I'm like, dude, I'm a teammate. I appreciate the fact. Call me Ryan, something, or Quinn. And I really wanted to get that across on him. And, when he comes in, that guy, he's not like, you see a lot of these high profile outside athletes from MMA, and they come into MMA and they just they want that red carpet treatment, and they just want to be held special, like catered to. And he rolled up his sleeves. He wanted to go to work. He wanted to put in the work, and he wanted to earn his respect. And you can't take that for anything. Like, he's awesome. I love Greg. I'm so happy he's finding his way in the sport. And he's just a super athlete, and he's got a lot to do here.
You made a lot of good points there. In 305 Fights, we say where champions rise. But the reason I put that is because we're all trying to rise. The guy in the kitchen is trying to be the chef or the owner of the restaurant. Somebody coming in from baseball is trying to be. And you know what? We all go through challenges in life. We all make mistakes. But coming back and standing up after those mistakes, that's how you rise. And that's the reason we came with that. So that was a very good point that you said there. I wanted to ask you about the transition. When you get somebody that comes from football, baseball, wrestling, or whatever, or even jiu-jitsu, boxing, what do you think is going to help make a transition to MMA?
Okay, well, I personally, I don't want them to lose what got them in the door. I want them to keep what their security blanket is, what I call it, their bread and butter. But in the meantime, let's say I walked in the door, I wrestled in college, I would try to wrestle the least out of all of my training. I would try to, because I already know I could wrestle. I would need to work my striking 2-3 times a week and my grappling twice a week, and stuff that I need to catch up on, so to speak. But once in a while, you have a guy that comes in and they're just so one-dimensional. Maybe they're a little older and they've come in from another sport. Not that this was Greg, but let's take football, for instance, where you're going north-south, you're dropping and you're blasting people. So people like that, sometimes they're one-dimensional, where you gotta just build them with tools where they can work what they're great at, as opposed to just trying to make them like full-line mixed martial artists. Like, And I don't mean that to put anybody down, but these people, they come around and it's not bad, like I'm a short guy, so I'm never gonna learn how to throw. I'm never gonna like force myself to learn a lot of head kicks. It's kind of like that. Like, I want to double jab and get inside to my double legs and my body shots. So you just sometimes just got to work with what they're good at, or at least help them set up what they're good at to give them confidence in outside areas.
No, you know what? As we have 305 Fights gym also, and as a coach, you made a good point and a good perspective. And I'll take that idea from you. I'll steal that idea from you. Taking somebody's strength and using that point of reference to move from there. I think that's good. I think that's a very positive way. And you know what? That's their strength. It's always going to be their strength, and you can move from there. I think what happened, the reason, and you gave me two things about that. Sometimes what I'll see like a gentleman. He was a gold medalist in judo,
mm-hmm.
and he goes into a match with a striker, and he gets knocked out. And I said to the coach, "Why didn't he try his judo?" He says, "Oh, because we've been teaching him striking, and we wanted to show him that he could strike as good as him."
Yeah, that's
that to me didn't make any sense, Okay, and then the other part that I wanted to ask you is understanding the tactical considerations and the transition to MMA. For example, in grappling, you don't have striking to the face. You don't, and when you get to the ground, and all somebody starts striking at you, you're like, whoa, what's going on? How do I deal with this? So I see sometimes a lot of the fighters having challenge in transition because they don't consider the tactical considerations. What's your thought on that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, that's a great contradicting point to the other stuff we were talking about. Is it's still MMA and it's not grappling and jiu-jitsu for so many reasons. Like I tell my fighters, if you don't see a submission blatantly there, or you can't hit a submission within 4 to 6 seconds, you got to stand up and get out. Because if that submission's not there, you're allowing them riding time, and B, they're probably in a good position to start punching once you stop looking for submissions. So we got to be a little more active on bottom than to just jiu-jitsu. Like you can't just take that. You got to be aware of those punches coming in. That's why you got to be. You got to really create space or really take it away. And on top, it's the same thing. You can't just ride within the guard. If you look, you've seen it where people look to break the guard like a jiu-jitsu grappling guard break, and then these come up, and they're going to get counter cut. So yeah, the positioning changes, and then against the cage is a whole nother story.
You said a point that I also is very important to me. I don't like to talk a lot about it because it's one of the secrets, and I don't want to give out what I teach some of the guys so they know. But Gaethje just came out and was talking about with Joe Rogan how you have to control the distance in the fight. The guy that controls the distance wins the fight, and that could take about a minute and a half into the fight.
Yeah.
So I think you mentioned that's one of the tactical considerations that I think it's important to have to be aware that now you really have to be aware of distance and control distance.
Yeah, I absolutely. I've won and unfortunately I've lost fights because of that. So it's really like you can't, like me being a wrestler, we start like this, and like most grappling sports, they start right here. So we want to get right here, and where you don't realize that you can't run in because then you're going to hit the wall. So you got to work that footwork. Like me, getting my footwork down changed my career. Getting my motion down changed my career. That's when I really made my jump. It's so important. And that goes to knowing your body. What is your distance? Everyone's different.
Well, you said two other secrets. Like I said, I want to give the secrets only to the chosen few. But you said footwork and movement. In fact, my martial arts system is called natural motion systems. So because you learn through experience, you learn those things. Let me ask you about strength and conditioning. Some people believe in road work, running long distance. Some people believe in sprint. Some people in weights. What do you think is the best way to develop the physical attributes for MMA and combat sports?
I actually contradict myself on that because I actually love road work. I love long distance running. I find it therapeutic. I get loose after, but they're starting to see more and more, unless you're doing that as like just to cool down, that it's really not necessary. They're saying to get your wind up. I think that nothing beats wind sprints or stadium sprints and stuff like that. And nothing beats pull-ups. Like if we're gonna stay basic, but I'm actually getting certified as a performance coach, and so I want to it's one of my goals is I want to put together a strength and conditioning program for amateur fighters. But usually, like what I do is I try to work on that 10 rep when I don't have a fight coming up. I want to work on that 10 rep stuff, that strong style, 10, 15, 10, 12 reps, with individual specific muscle building. And then 4 or 5 weeks out of a fight, that's when I'll do my circuit training. That's 3 5-minute rounds worth of just as fast you can, 1 minute pull-ups, push-ups, or burpees, stuff like that to get that wind going, and just always sprint. Oh, and jumping rope. Jumping rope is footwork. Jumping rope is cardio. Jumping rope is great, and also something I wish I did more of is just shadow box. Just shadow box. Just put those headphones in. 45 minutes. Just be fast. Instead of running, if you're just worry about that footwork and worry about being quick for 45 minutes. Just don't think about anything. Don't over criticize yourself. And that's key stuff right there.
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad that you're specializing in that forte, and I would love to bring you back on another podcast and specifically talk about that. Maybe give a little short video, some ideas, because I think that's a very important part that sometimes gets missed. I'm old school, so sometimes I realize we learned not the best way. Like, get in there and just knock each other around. That was the fighting part. That was the technical part. And then get in shape, go run and, take a protein shake, and that's it. Now things have become a lot smarter, more systematic, more scientific, more organized. And I think that's a good way to go.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And, it's nobody's fault. Like I was like that too. Just go run just until you can't anymore, and like just. I was like, dude, just third, right? People are like, Then you got people who just don't do anything. So I'd rather know that you're running than sitting on the couch.
Yeah. Let's go to talk about the state of combat sports. What's happening in the UFC. I also saw you in a picture with. Tyrone Woodley. He just had a fight, and I know he's with the American Top Team also. What do you think about his fight, and what do you think about what's going on with him now in the UFC?
I haven't seen Tyrone in a little bit. He's great. He's I think that he got rocked early in that fight. Not only did he get rocked, he got split open, and after that, he got a little like startled, I guess, and I feel like Gilbert and what was his name? I forget already. Gilbert.
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't recall.
He did a really good job of timing Woodley's right hand and shooting underneath.
Burns. Last name is Burns, correct? Yeah.
Gilbert Burns. Yeah. He did a great job of timing Tyron's right hand shooting underneath it. Like I think once Tyron got cut, that whenever he went for that right hand, he couldn't see, so he was lifting his head to throw it. And as you know, when you lift your chin to punch, it telegraphs everything. So I feel that was part of it. Plus, I feel Gilbert had a really good game plan of biting but not pressing too hard and controlling the center. I think Tyron has some more juice left in this game. We'll see though. Go ahead.
I really liked him even from the beginning. I still like him. I think he's just had some tough challenges with Usman, the way Usman dominated, I was shocked. I was really shocked with that.
I was too.
And then now he comes back. I was waiting to come back. I saw him a little bit too flat-footed for me, kind of too stiff also. Like I said, I think he does. I think he does have a lot of juice left. I wish him the best. I want him to come back and do another good run, before he leaves.
Agreed.
Let's talk about this weekend. You have La Leona Nunez over there from American Top Team. She's going to face Spencer. What do you think about that fight?
Man, I know nothing's automatic, but like Amanda's she's like a once in a lifetime athlete. I feel this. She just gets better and better. She's got that serious power, and I see the work she puts in the gym to make herself well rounded. So she's gonna be ready for wherever that fight goes, and she's awesome. I just got Amanda all the way.
Yeah. She's a tough cookie. And look, we talked about it earlier. A lot of the people say, "Oh, look at Amanda. Look at this." look, you got to understand the work that girl put in from when she started. Okay.
Mhm.
Then she made a transition. She went over there with you guys. And, no, let me be politically correct. I think everybody's the best. But when she went over there to American Top Team, she started improving. Every time I see her, she's improving. She's learning tactical things, skills, and it's almost like she became a little bit more professional. And then there was no stopping her. I think Spencer is a big girl. I think she's one of the more physical, bigger girls that she's going to face. But I don't see her having the skill set, the experience, the elements lined up to beat
Yeah,
her.
I don't think so either. And just because also like the confidence Amanda has right now, and it's not arrogance. She's just confident. She's just so she's positive on what she's going to do in there. She's not taking anything for granted. She's not sleeping on anybody. So I just think that she's ready for it. She's good.
Yeah, she said something just yesterday. I heard her say that before she wouldn't say, earlier in her career, she said, I've practiced. She goes, I have her game plan. We have a strategy. And that's another part that I try to tell the young guys. Listen, this is like a physical chess. You have the physical, you have the technical, you have strength and condition, but you got to have your strategy and your tactics.
Mhm.
At a higher level, I think plays in. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. It's once you get to that level, it's not who knows the most, it's who makes the least mistakes. That's what it comes down to. And like I know I was like that too earlier on in my career. I just wanted to go in there, take people down, submit them, pound them out, get my hand raised. Then you start fighting people who have been doing MMA for 10 years, so they're going to know how to sprawl. They know how to work the distance, like we talked about, and they know how to stick to what's good. And then unfortunately, what I was bad at. So yeah, game planning is huge, and I think that's a good thing that you pointed out. Is now she knows how to game plan.
You just mentioned something that brought something to my mind. Is I was saying Matt Hughes. Like you can see, man, I don't stop living this stuff. I tell people I don't have a life. Martial arts is my life. Mark Hughes last night was talking about. I was seeing one of his own seminars. That's another guy I think he's credible. He said I count on three things: human tendencies, the tendency of a human,
Yeah.
the reaction. Like if you hit somebody low, they're gonna go like this high, they're gonna go like that, and it's
Yeah.
very hard to get out of those human tendencies.
Mhm.
And then the weakness and the strength of the fighter. He goes, those are the three things. And I said, wow, look at this guy. You see him fight and you thought he was a beast, but he's not only a beast, he's very smart,
Yeah.
in those tendencies. You're gonna also we have somebody from Florida coming that originally from Florida, back in Florida. One of my friends is coaches, and we have Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy fighting.
Yeah.
He's fighting that young man. I forgot his name now. That he's the youngest guy in the UFC, and they're building him up to be a future star. Uh, what do you think on that fight?
I saw that kid fight at Titan last year sometime, I think, and he's solid. But sometimes these these up and comers and they run into experienced fighters like Bruce Leroy, and it's a different level of game planning. That's what it comes down to. And like so I don't I don't want to hate on the young man by any means, but let's see what he's at when he's going against these experienced fighters that really know how to game plan and know how to go to plan B and C and loop it back to plan A and adjust along the way. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, you said a really good point. This is going to tell you at what level his fighting
Yeah.
IQ is at and experience. That's what's going to tell you. And to give him some credit, man, let me tell you, the up and coming guys, those are the most dangerous guys to me because they are so hungry. You look at fighters, and like I said, I'm only talking from my understanding at this point in time. But like McGregor, even guys that have great skill, when they start losing a little bit of that hunger, that like the rocky eye of the tiger,
Yeah.
and you're facing a kid that's thinking this is my chance, and that becomes almost at a spiritual level then.
No, you're absolutely right. I was at that. I was that kid. And then I remember my last fight, I was fighting that kid. And I remember I was looking at the fights, the opposite. I think it's funny. Like I always said, like, I was like, I'm not gonna let really money play a big deal in my decisions. And as I got older, I'm married now, and then when they're offering me these fights for $2,000, and I gotta fight this 7-0 beast who's looking to smash my face in and get into the UFC, I'm like, you know what? I'm good. So.
Yeah. And by the way, congratulations on your baby.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I saw pictures of her.
Yeah.
She's really cute. She doesn't take off after father, I guess then.
Yeah. But he does.
Well, anyways, I wish you health and success with your family. One more about the UFC this weekend is Cody Garbrandt. He's coming back. It's going to be interesting to see. He's fighting a real tough. Can't say his name. Brazilian. Yes.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think that Assunção needs to make it happen right now. I think that he's been the gatekeeper in that division for like 2 or 3 years, which is crazy. And I think that he got passed up on a couple of title fights along the way. But I think if he beats Cody, then he's in line for a title shot. And I think that he's that hungry dude right now. This is his last chance to be that hungry kid, I think. So, but Garbrandt's coming back. Garbrandt, he's in the way he beat Dominic Cruz was masterful. So even though that was a couple of years ago now, but I think that's going to be a great fight. Actually, that's going to be fight of the night atmosphere because I trained with Assunção and he's a pit bull. So we'll see what goes on there. But I like that fight for fight of the night.
I think Cody to win has to show up, like you said. It has to be the Cody that fought Dominic Cruz.
Yeah.
If it's not that Cody, then it's going to be a tough night.
Mm-hmm.
A tough night. Let's get into the general state of the combat sports and the UFC. I know ESPN is going to release a documentary on Bruce Lee. That's going to be really cool. I think the UFC is taking the initiative of getting things going, start shows. They're creating. I can't wait to see. They're creating that Fight Island.
Yeah.
I think of that Bruce Lee movie, Enter the Dragon.
The Dragon. And that nonstop. Yeah.
Yeah. When he says Fight Island, what do you think of the state of combat sports and the UFC?
Well, I was actually, as a mixed martial artist, I was really proud that the UFC took the first step in making fights happen last month. I thought that was awesome. And I think the world needed that. They needed something to watch and something to take their mind off of all that was happening. I love the idea of Fight Island. I think it's awesome. I can't wait to see what they pop out with that. I know they're going to be just like rolling fights with it, and I think it's fantastic. I'm really, it's different. I think that they're going to go back to their usual like big fights in July and December and October. But I think that's a great avenue right now that they could experiment with, and I think that all of the MMA world should be excited about it.
I think that, and they're talking about like certain fights, like putting on certain fights there, like Masvidal and McGregor for the BMF title.
Yeah.
That would be a crazy cool fight, I think, there at the Fight Island and whatnot. And as far as Bellator and the One and all these companies coming up, I see the companies really focused on growing and expanding and becoming, professional all the way around. So I think it's I know we get distracted with a lot of things that are going on, but I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think it's a very positive time. What do you feel?
I feel the same. I feel absolutely the same. We had everything was on hold for a while, and now I think they're eager, and I think that One is going to eventually come over here in the next year, and I really think it's a great time, and especially for MMA fighters, like it's a great time to be an up and comer with like between 5 and 10 fights right now, because these companies are going to look to sign up that talent and keep them, and it's really it's always great when there's more avenues for fighters, because then you have competition, brings out the best in people. And as far as fighters is concerned, then we have some leverage now with negotiating for contracts and stuff like that.
Yes, I agree with you. And then there are avenues opening up. You ask Oscar De La Hoya is trying to get into MMA. The UFC is trying to get into boxing. And I love for the fighters, because you know what? If they can make a paycheck in mixed martial arts and then make another bigger paycheck or compete with paychecks with boxing, hey, because fighting is tough, man. You're beating your body, so you really need to take make that money for your family, really to take care of yourself. So I see a lot of opportunities expanding. Would you like, please make some closing comments, any shout outs or anything that you would like to say?
Just thank you guys at 305 Fights. This is awesome. I had so much fun on here, and I can't wait to come back on. Thank you so much, and we'll be at the next fights for sure.
Awesome. I really want to thank you. I know you're very busy. You're a high-level instructor and high-level person in martial arts in a very, I give props where props is. I always say I'm not a hater and appreciator, a participator in a very elite group of American Top Team and Coconut Creek. So anytime we can get people like yourselves and the Academy promoting martial arts, exposing martial arts, educating martial arts, we really appreciate it. Thank you for your time. I wish you and your family the best. I'm going to close out the show by saying 305 305 Fights, where the champions rise.
305 Miami, the champion league.